When my dad introduced us to people, he'd always say, "This is Elena, our future architect." If I happened to be there too, it was, "And this is her sister." No name. No details. Just a vague shape standing to the side. At first, I thought maybe I was overthinking it. Being too sensitive. But then came Elena's college graduation, June 2020, Austin, Texas. Everyone arrived in pastel dresses and wide-brimmed hats, phones fully charged and smiles perfectly rehearsed. My name wasn't even on the cake, which had been custom ordered with "Congratulations Elena, our shining star," in gold script. And when my dad gave a speech on the backyard patio in front of our extended family, he raised a glass and said, "To our brightest light." I was standing 10 feet away, arranging drinks on the folding table. Eventually, I stopped fighting it. I stopped asking why they never posted about my photography scholarship, why they never made the drive to Santa Fe to see my gallery showings, why I didn't make the annual family newsletters anymore. I still remember the holiday card from 2022. They wore matching navy blue sweaters. Even the dog had one. Where I used to stand was now Elena in the center, holding the dog, my parents perfectly flanking her like it was a glossy ad for a lifestyle brand. They didn't crop me out. They retook the entire photo, without me. No one ever said I wasn't part of the family. But I've learned that being erased doesn't require drama. Just silence. Just subtle, quiet choices. My name is Mara Liddell, and if you asked my dad, he'd say he has one daughter. Then last Wednesday, I got an email. Not from my family, of course. It was from the University of Texas Alumni Office, Elena's school, not mine. Subject line, "You're invited, Commencement 2025 highlights." I almost deleted it. But then something strange caught my eye. Keynote speaker. Major contributor. Identity to be revealed at ceremony. I clicked. Scrolled past the donation tiers, the event schedule, the parking map. And then I saw it, a blurred silhouette next to the words, "Featured investor and founder of one of the most impactful rural health initiatives in the country." It was me. No one knew I was behind ClearPath Imaging. I built it quietly, under an alias, through private funding rounds and quiet hospital collaborations. I never wanted recognition. I just wanted peace. Space to create without being compared. Until now. Later that night, another email slid into my inbox. It wasn't meant for me. It was a sloppy string of forwarded messages between my Aunt Lorna and the rest of the family. Photos of Elena's gown. The brunch menu. The seating chart. And then a line from my dad. "Make sure Mara doesn't hear about it. We can't have any distractions at Elena's graduation." Distraction. That hit deeper than any insult. They hadn't simply forgotten me. They had actively planned around my absence. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel sad. I felt steel. I wasn't going to show up uninvited. I wasn't going to make a scene. No, I was going to sponsor the entire arts building next door. Quietly. Permanently. My name on the cornerstone plaque, etched in silver. That night, I sat in the dark. No music. Just the hum of the fridge and the dim light of my laptop screen. Their words spun in my head like a scratched record. "She'll ruin it. She always finds a way to make it about herself." And I believed them once. Not suddenly, but slowly. Like water smoothing down rock, until their voices sounded like my own. Maybe I was the problem. Or maybe I just finally stopped pretending to be invisible. Maybe not showing up for Christmas, skipping birthdays, hiding behind shell companies and legal aliases, maybe that was cold. Or maybe it was just survival. Even now, I wasn't sure which. I stared at my reflection in the black laptop screen. Tired eyes. Hoodie pulled halfway over my tangled bun. The faint logo on my ClearPath Imaging sweatshirt was barely visible in the glow from the monitor. This was who I had become. The girl they whispered had dropped out. The girl who walked away. The girl who, in their eyes, disappeared. No one had ever seen me for who I truly was. And when no one sees you, really sees you, do you even exist? The next morning, I flipped open my laptop again and logged into our investor dashboard. There it was, confirmation. University of Texas, class of 2025, commencement. Keynote slot confirmed. Name withheld for suspense. I hovered over the field marked display name. Typed 3 words. Clicked save. Mara Liddell, CEO. It started with a sound, a soft rustling from the back of my kitchen drawer. I wasn't looking for anything specific. Maybe a charger. Maybe a pen. But my fingers brushed against a crumpled piece of paper. An old coffee receipt from nearly 5 years ago. Scribbled on the back, in familiar handwriting. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. My mom's handwriting. She used to tuck notes like that in my coat pockets, between notebook pages, before school presentations. She passed away when I was 19. She never got to see this version of me. But that note, found at the perfect moment, felt deliberate. Like she'd planned it all along. Almost on cue, my phone buzzed. A message from Owen, my CTO. Investor Summit locked. UT campus. Same weekend. You in? And then it hit me. Elena's graduation was scheduled for the same Saturday. Same university. Same hour. The ceremony would be happening just across the quad from our summit keynote. It felt poetic. Like the universe had drawn a perfect circle, and I was finally standing in its center. I opened 2 browser tabs. One for the Investor Summit. The other for the university's guest registration portal. Under guest name, I used a pseudonym. Reserved a front row seat. Not to speak. Not to interfere. I just wanted to see them. The people who had so carefully edited me out. I wasn't coming to reclaim my seat at their dinner table. I was buying the whole damn restaurant. At 2:07 a.m., the confirmation emails rolled in. Investor Summit, keynote confirmed. University commencement, guest seat confirmed. 2 worlds. 1 campus. 1 weekend. I had a foot in both. For the guest ticket, I didn't use my full name. Just my initials. Not because I was hiding, just not ready. Not yet. What I wanted wasn't attention. I wanted proximity. I wanted to see the exact moment my father realized the daughter he discarded could still walk into a room without a sound, and command it. That morning, I packed light. 1 sleek black blazer. A navy dress. A pair of sensible heels I hadn't worn since the day I pitched ClearPath to a room of skeptical VCs. No one at that meeting asked about my degree. I didn't have one. What I did have was data, results, and a vision that left no room for doubt. As the train pulled into Austin, I caught a flash of the old engineering hall outside the window, the same one where I used to sit on the steps sketching product designs while Elena breezed past with her friends, pretending not to see me. Once, she'd told them I was just some dropout who still hangs around. Now? My name was printed in the summit itinerary, right next to keynote. When I arrived at the graduation venue, the usher scanned my ticket and smiled. Welcome, he said. You're in the front row. This one was requested early, front row, reserved, the usher said. Looks like someone really wanted you here. I smiled softly. I guess they did. I took the 3rd seat from the aisle. The morning sun spilled across the back of my neck, warm and steady. Rows of graduates began filing in, robes straight, caps square, shoes freshly polished. Nobody noticed me. Not yet. But I noticed everything. Then I heard it, my father's voice. Low. Clipped. Controlled. He was at the far end of the section, talking to a staff member holding a clipboard and a radio. That voice, it had once cleared entire rooms without ever needing volume. He scanned the crowd, narrowed eyes sweeping the space like searchlights. He was expecting trouble. The usher returned. "Ma'am, just confirming your name for the log?" I handed her my ticket. She smiled, nodded, and moved on. 2 rows ahead, Elena took her seat among the graduates. Her hair was styled to perfection, her gown perfectly pressed. She looked the same, maybe colder now. More polished. But I knew that look. The performance face. She'd always worn it like a second skin. A professor passed by my row, gave me a glance, then paused. His eyes widened. "Wait," he whispered. "Are you Mara Liddell? From ClearPath?" I just offered a quiet smile. "I read your paper on rural diagnostics," he said, his voice just loud enough for the 2 people behind me to turn their heads. "Your infrastructure model, it's brilliant." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Across the quad, university banners snapped in the breeze. The loudspeakers crackled to life. The ceremony was beginning. Behind me, my father's voice rose, sharper now. "She's not supposed to be here. She's not on the list." I didn't turn. Didn't blink. Let him squirm. Let him search. Because the girl he erased wasn't in that seat anymore. A woman was. And soon, everyone would know her name. The investor summit was set to begin just 40 minutes after the ceremony ended, right across the quad in the new glass auditorium. Inside, massive LED panels were already rotating slides. ClearPath imaging, keynote closing address. The quiet pivot that reshaped rural healthcare. As Elena's department chair stepped up to the podium, I rose. My seat was empty before my father even realized I'd been there. Backstage at the summit, my assistant was waiting, tablet in hand. "All set," she said. "Slide deck is loaded. Even the dean thinks the CEO's some Ivy League guy who never shows his face." I nodded and flipped through the slides, charts, case studies, clinical data, strong, impactful. But something felt off. The last slide read, "Thank you. Too safe. Too forgettable." I tapped and rewrote it. Mara Liddell. University of Texas, class of never. "You erased me, so I built something permanent." My assistant peeked over my shoulder, eyebrows raised. "That's bold." "It's honest," I said. She didn't argue. I took a breath and caught my reflection in the dark screen of the stage monitor. Hair tied back. No makeup. Just a sharp black blazer, steady hands, and a name they once tried to bury. Outside, applause rang out across the courtyard. Elena's graduation was ending. Inside, the summit host stepped up to the mic. "Please welcome the founder and CEO of ClearPath Imaging." As I stepped into the light, cameras flashed. Heads turned. And across the quad, Elena's professor leaned toward her and whispered something. Her brow furrowed. Her head turned. And for the first time in a decade, she looked at me, really looked. But I didn't look back. I had a room to lead. I stepped onto the stage. The lights weren't blinding. The stage didn't feel high. And for once, I didn't feel small. Projected behind me in bold, clean type. Mara Liddell, CEO, ClearPath Imaging. For a second, the room held still, not in confusion, but in realization. Then came the whispers. Then the phones. Then the stunned silence. They had been citing my models, my infrastructure, my clinical results for years, and they had never known it was me. I took a breath. "I built ClearPath because no one in my family believed I could finish anything," I said. And honestly, they weren't completely wrong. I didn't finish college. I didn't finish holidays. I didn't finish being the daughter they wanted. I let it settle. No rush. Then, click. The next slide, a map of the rural health network we'd built. Tiny towns. Old clinics. New life. Dots connected by access and equity, not just numbers. Click. Hospital partners. Patient expansion. Outreach milestones. Click. A grainy image, me, 6 years ago, crouched in a dorm hallway, soldering prototype equipment. No lab. No funding. Just borrowed tools, burned fingers, and a need to prove I could build something real. I looked across the room. Trustees. Students. Faculty. Then, in the third row, beside a junior professor, I saw Elena's advisor. His brows lifted. He leaned toward her and said, just loud enough for the microphone to catch. "You didn't tell me she was your sister." Elena didn't move. The professor turned back toward me with a slight smile. "Nice work, CEO." That was the moment. Not the applause that came after. Not the wave of messages from people who once ignored me. That moment. The truth, clear, undeniable, finally seen. And it wasn't a moment Elena could rehearse. It wasn't her line to steal. It didn't belong to her. I didn't look at her directly. I didn't need to. I knew she was watching. And somewhere behind her, I knew my father was too, jaw clenched, fists tight. But I didn't have to say anything. Because the truth already had a microphone. I slipped out the side exit. No reporters. No photos. Just the echo of applause bouncing off the glass behind me. I didn't wait for compliments. I didn't linger at the catered reception. I didn't need to. By the time I reached the hotel lobby, my phone was buzzing nonstop. 37 unread messages. 6 missed calls from unknown numbers. And 1 text from my cousin. "Was that you on stage?" Dad nearly choked. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. A clip of the moment had already gone viral. The line "Nice work, CEO" was being replayed, subtweeted, recaptioned. And there I was, standing alone at the podium. My name glowing behind me. The silence I'd carried for years, finally broken. I didn't tag the university. I didn't mention Elena. I didn't post anything at all. But I knew they saw it. Because that evening, Elena's graduation photo vanished from my father's Facebook page. In its place? A quote graphic about staying humble. Elena didn't tag anyone either. No thank you caption. No, so proud of my amazing family. Just one filtered photo, stiff smile, no context. I never returned their silence with noise. But they heard me anyway. In the halls where my name had never been spoken. In rooms they never thought I'd re-enter. In whispers from professors, peers, and strangers. They said the name they buried. Mara Liddell. Not their failure. Not their shame. Not their loss. Just a woman who stood up, told the truth, and didn't look back. The Monday after the summit, my inbox lit up again. But the messages flooding my inbox weren't from journalists or VC firms. They were from family. Not directly, of course. That would require self-awareness. Accountability. These came wrapped in polite curiosity. Dipped in casual tone. A text from my second cousin, who hadn't spoken to me since high school. "Hey Mara, long time. Just saw the keynote, wow. Any chance you're hiring summer interns?" An email from one of my dad's old college friends. "Brad mentioned you're doing something in healthcare? Our son just graduated, would love to connect." And the boldest one of all? A LinkedIn message from Elena's boyfriend. We'd met once. He didn't even shake my hand. Barely looked at me. Didn't realize ClearPath was yours. Truly impressive. Let me know if you're ever building a legal team. No mention of Elena. No apology. Just quiet acknowledgement. They finally saw me. Not as the embarrassment. Not as the dropout. But as an opportunity. The same doors they once slammed in my face, they were cracking open, now that my name held value. I didn't respond to most of them. But I did forward one to my assistant with a note. Put this one on the not in this lifetime list. She said back a thumbs up emoji, and a skull. I smirked. The irony wasn't lost on me. They once said I'd never amount to anything. That I'd be lucky to keep a desk job. Now they were asking me for one. They didn't notice the moment I became their cautionary tale. But they'd never forget the day I became their missed opportunity. And the best part? I didn't raise my voice. I just raised the bar. They didn't erase me with cruelty. They erased me with silence. With cropped photos. With empty chairs and unanswered calls. It wasn't violent. Just quiet. Intentional. Until even I began to question if I'd ever truly existed in their world. And when I walked away, no drama, no declaration, they called it healing. They told themselves the family had moved on. So I let them believe it. Let them say in living rooms and Facebook comments. We haven't heard from Mara in years. As if I were a ghost. As if I hadn't built something lasting, visible, undeniable. But the truth doesn't stay buried. Not when it's built on data and grit. Not when it saves lives in towns they'll never drive through. This time, they couldn't ignore it. My name was on the screens. On the banners. On the slides quoted in classrooms and keynote speeches. I didn't ask to be welcomed back. I just made sure that wherever they turned, I was already there. Not as the problem child. Not as the shame. But as the woman they now had to Google. I never went back to the house. Not when my father sent word through a cousin. Something about letting the past go. He didn't mean apology. He meant damage control. I wasn't interested. There was nothing for me there. Not the peeling paint. Not the shelf where my high school awards used to be. Not even the dry, bitter garden my mother once adored. But I did return. Just not the way they imagined. I returned in hospital rooms where our scanners changed outcomes. In lecture halls quoting my models. In the mouths of people who once dismissed me. They couldn't rewrite me. Couldn't reshape me. Couldn't claim me. And that? That was the final gift. They buried me in silence. So I came back with something louder. Mara Liddell. CEO. Unforgettable. If you've ever felt invisible. Cut out of family photos, ignored in conversations, treated like background in your own story, this is for you. Drop your story in the comments. Tell me the moment you stopped waiting for permission and started building your legacy. You don't need approval to matter. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. And you never need to return to the people who buried you, just to prove you've grown. Sometimes, being unforgettable is the only answer you'll ever need. If you've made it this far, thank you, for listening, for seeing me. But more importantly, for maybe seeing yourself in this story. I want to hear from you. Really. Drop a comment below and tell me, when did you realize you were done waiting to be seen? When did you decide that being invisible in someone else's story wasn't enough, and started writing your own? Because that's what this journey taught me. I didn't need a second chance from them. I needed a first chance from me. For years, I thought success meant being invited back to the table. I thought healing meant reconciliation. But it turns out, sometimes healing looks like distance. Growth looks like boundaries. And success? It's building something so solid, so undeniable, that the people who overlooked you have no choice but to look again. So here's my advice, don't wait for applause. Don't wait for approval, permission, or closure. Start with what you have. Build in the quiet. Grow in the shadows. And when you're ready, walk into the light, not to prove anyone wrong, but to finally show yourself what was right about you all along. And if someone once told you you weren't enough, too quiet, too weird, too different, I want you to remember this. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to be chosen to start. And you don't have to go back to the people who buried you to prove you bloomed. Support each other in the comments. Share your story. Tell someone else, I see you. Because being unforgettable starts when we refuse to disappear.